Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. There's one word that I truly believe is sort of the baseline for pretty much everything in life, and that word is expectations. We all have expectations. Could be a personal relationship, could be your job, could be pretty much anything, could be going to a restaurant, new restaurant. Got expectations. You know, you're paying a lot of money and you're expecting it to be a certain way. How do you set those expectations? How do you communicate those expectations? She is the founder and CEO of Dynamics of Conversation, LLC. She's a motivational speaker, published author, leadership coach, and I expect we're going to have a good show today with Iveta Kuzela, who's back with us. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Steve? Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be back. Yes.
So good to have you back here. And the expectation thing, if I may share a story briefly with somebody I literally had this conversation with last night. Very close friend, just started a new job. And she's kind of all over the place. Like, I got to do this and there's training and that going on. And she's kind of stressed out. And she goes, I don't know what the expectations are. I'm like, well, just ask them. And she's a medical biller. There are claims involved. And she said, I don't know, if I can get more than 4 done in a day with this whole new system. And it's all like fresh material. And then she went and asked them and they said, yeah, you get 4 done in a day. That's okay. You're new. It's going to take some time. If it's a month and you're only getting 4 done, all right, well, we got to, take a look at that. But it's the expectations. And I always believed that when you start a new job, new situation, it's the deal you make in the beginning. The expectations you set in the very beginning. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely. Yes, it is. Yes. Thank you for the great introduction. That was awesome. And that actually nicely leads me into what I want to talk about today. And that's how we set the expectations and also the outcomes of the expectations and how they actually influence how we feel, how we act, how we talk, how we represent ourselves. Because we have expectations for all sorts of things, as you said, right? We have expectations for our jobs. We have expectations for our partners. We have expectations for our children, for our family. So we have all sorts of bars that we set. And what happens when we don't reach that expectation, right? When we set expectations for our job as a leader or as, for a partner at a certain level, and then we get only maybe halfway into it, then we are disappointed with the outcome. We're disappointed probably with ourselves. We could be disappointed with the partner or the boss or the manager. We would be heartbroken. We could feel like we're failing all the time and constantly hitting the wall. So the expectations, they have very influential effects on us, and that translates into our conversation. So when we feel like we didn't hit the expectation that we were aiming for, what do? There is a measurement between where we want it to be and where we are, right? And then the measurement is called not enough. We're not good enough. We're not smart enough. We are not educated enough. We are not pretty enough. We are not successful enough. We are not, I can just keep going and going, right? That not enough is that measurement between where we were aiming for and where we landed. And that gap, that measurement, brings that not enough into our life. And it just fuels more of everything that we were aiming for and wishing for. And it just brings it down. That not enough just kind of slaps us in our heads. And they're like, nope, you're not getting there. You're not reaching it. You're not good enough. And we get into that cycle, right? And then what happens? Some people, they try 1 time, maybe 2 times to reach that bar that they set for themselves, and they don't reach it, so they give up, right? And they're like, yeah, I can do it. That's it. That doesn't work for me, and they just don't try it anymore. And then you have other people who constantly keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and they get to the point that they are overwhelmed, exhausted, tired, stressed, anxious, because they keep pushing to that bar that they set for themselves, but they have a hard time reaching it. right? And so it brings the anxiety, feeling like a failure, the not enough pops up into the lives. And it just steers, the whole motion of where is it that I actually want to be? Where is it that I'm aiming for? Why do I set expectations that high? Is it based on somebody else putting the expectations on us? Or is it our own expectations that we put on ourselves?
How do you just, I almost don't want to say this, but do you just lower the bar? And if so, how do you do that?
There are two ways you can go about it, right? You first need to kind of figure out, did I put the expectation on myself? Is it coming from me? Or is it coming from, let's say, from the outside environment, the society, family, partners, friends, right? So we need to first determine where the expectation or how the expectation is created. And then we can go from there to see, okay, if the expectation was created by me, then we can ask, okay, what is it based off of? Is it based off of fear? Is it based off you trying to be somebody who you're not? Is it based off just the outside stimulation, right? We have messages, we have social media, celebrities, everybody's telling you, when you do this, you're going to be more happy. When you have this, you're going to be more satisfied. When you look like this, you're going to be more confident. And so we got all these messages telling us how we should, be, act, talk, dress up, right? There's all kinds of messages coming at us. And so we need to realize, is it coming from me or is it coming from the outside?
If it's coming from the outside, wouldn't it still be coming from you or me? Because you're taking your environment, internalizing it, and then I guess regurgitating it.
Yes. So there's a little bit of fine line when somebody tells you, you got to push harder, you got to move up. So when you have these type of conversation, or when you see, let's say, a parent-child kind of a situation, right? Parents often set high expectations. Even leaders for their team, they set high expectations, right? Because they want to succeed. They want to, they want to really be driven and bring the results. But when you see that those expectations are turning into more obsession or micromanagement, or they're really pushing the individual or the team to the edge where nobody wants to be and they're around you, then that's an indicator like, hey, the expectations are just too high. They are unrealistic. Why are they unrealistic? What is it based on? Is it based on my failure because I want to get higher? Is it based on my bosses pushing me to really get to that bar? Is it based on, my parents teaching me this way, so I'm going to teach my child the same thing, right? So we kind of need to figure out where it is coming from. That's the first step, right? The awareness is always the first step. Like if you cannot be aware of where it's coming from and how it's created, then you're not going to be able to change it, because you would have blinds. You won't be able to see. So the awareness is the very, very first step.
And you just mentioned that, it could have come from your parents. So I got to believe that it's something that you could have experienced even when you were 0 to 7, which we talked before, that is so impactful, seed planted in your subconscious. It could have been you drew a picture. You're 6 years old. Your mom, dad looks at it and says, "Oh, that's really nice. That's really, but the sky is supposed to be blue, not green. You could do a little bit better than that,
Yep.
And then right away, bing, that stuck. And that lived with you forever, where I got to do better. I got to do better.
Yep. And you just got to keep pushing, and you keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And then you get into that cycle where everything else just kind of disappears, because the only thing that you can see is that bar and you reaching that point, right? So that you feel, okay, now when I reach this, when I have certain amount of money, when I search or reach certain ranking in a corporate ladder, when I do this and this, right? We put these limitations to us, like, I only going to be happy if this and this happen. I only going to be happy when I reach this. Do you see where I'm coming? So it's good to follow our conversations when we say these, quite easy statements like, oh, I'm going to be happy when I have this and this. right there, that's going to show you that right now you're not happy with where you are, you're not happy with who you are, and you're not happy with what you have, right? And so following the conversation, listening to the conversation that we were having on daily basis with our friends, with our partners, with our boss, with our coworkers or colleagues. I mean, all of these little clues and the awareness can come from just listening to the stories that you say.
The analogy I gave you with the sky,
Uh-huh.
that was somewhat real, and I'll share it with you.
Yeah, please.
I'm gonna be transparent. I had been bullied since I was a kid, elementary school, all of that. So, there's challenges along the way there and some other ones in there as well. And I always wanted to be a cartoonist. So it was 11th grade. My teacher actually said that to me when I was doing a painting, and it was a barn and there was a sky, and I just wasn't coming out the way I wanted it to because I had set the bar for myself and expectations. And she actually said to me, yeah, I'll show you. She does it. And she said, you know what? You are an underachiever. And I never forgot that. I never forgot that. I don't know. I'm trying to decide whether it was good or bad.
Right, right. Well, that would probably determine like what was your reaction, what would happen after, right? Were you like trying to push harder and doing the extra mile, or was it more like, yeah, it's never gonna happen, so I'm just not gonna even try?
No, push harder, because
Push harder.
there's a local newspaper article from when I was 17 where a library was featuring my cartoons, and it says in there a quote from me, "I'm a perfectionist." So that was a year after what that teacher said to me, and I think that made me have that perfectionist mentality to keep going, make it better, make it better, make it better. I've since abandoned that into a large degree and just did me. Much better place. Because perfectionists, and I think that falls in line with what we're talking about in terms of expectations, putting that expectation on yourself that it's got to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I can relate to this as well. When I started the first business, I had that drive, the motivation. I was after school. I got all the certification and all that, clock hours that I needed to have to do coaching and be coach. And the national board certified exam came, and I was like all fired up. I got everything ready. I started the business, and slowly it started to the motivation and the drive and then the need to help people, and that just kind of started to like go down, because I thought that I have a good chance of, I thought that I know what I'm doing, but quite frankly, I had no idea what I was doing, and I was jumping from different influencer and different person online, like, you do this, do that, do this, and I just kept jumping all over the place and constantly setting bar high, because like, I'm not just going to create a post. That post has to be perfect, right?
Yes,
There
yes.
has to be like the picture, the writing, and you just get into the greedy, needy, nighty things, and it's painful. And the more I tried, the worse it got. And the more I tried to follow people, the more I lose myself. I lost myself in a process, period. Hard loss. And that made me to shut down everything, because before I closed the door, I'm like, I don't even know how I want to help people. I don't know what is going on, Iveta. I was so lost in the dark that I couldn't find the way. And I'm like, okay, that's it. Something has to change. I can't do this anymore like that. And that was me pushing for over a year to just, find the way, because I set the bar very, very high.
Thank you for sharing that, because it's huge. And I'm like off the scale relate to it. Because you're being judged because it's social media. So you're broadcasting it out there. And it's okay to be inspired by other people's posts, where you can like a little nugget of idea. Oh, you know what? I could do that and kind of make it mine. Look at the colors they're using. But after a while of you searching for something that you want to be yours, you're not you anymore. You're everybody else all put together in one, which is really not the authentic you. So interesting how after a period of time you just recognized that and said, I'm
I had to. And Steve, the fact that I'm English is my second language, I was so hard on myself to not make mistakes, to really don't, grammarly, to make sure that it sounds right, that it's written correctly. I was so hard on myself because of that fact. I didn't want to people think, oh, she doesn't know how to speak. What does she think that, she can be a coach if she doesn't even know how to, how to type correctly? Those were my sentences. Those were my putting me down, the not enough, the measurement between where we wanted to be and where we actually landed. That not enough was that mine right there. I can't speak, I can't write, I can't be vulnerable, I cannot show people that, my English is not perfect, and which is fine. And thanks God, I overcame this. Thanks God, I was able to, set my mind into like, no, it's okay to make mistake. It's okay to be you, Iveta. It's okay to be who you are, because that's what matters the most, right? Show ourselves for who we are. Show ourselves without putting any mask and, pretending or putting any shield on and just trying to, do a little peek here and peek there. Just open it up, have the world see that.
Do you think Iveta, it also comes down to a certain level of confidence and faith in yourself that you need to get to, so that you don't worry about so much the expectation? If this is the low, this is the top. You always strive for the top, I think. You want to get there, but if you land someone here, that's okay. We're good. But you need the confidence even to get to there, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's a mindset that you have to really you have to face the fears. Like, why is it that and perfectionism, let's go back to that. It's one of the, like, I was the master in perfectioning, and I'm also a Virgo, which makes it even more to that.
Do we talk about this? I'm a Virgo as well.
Oh, you are? No ways. Oh, that's wonderful. Look at us.
And there you go. It's a Virgo trait is to
yep,
try to be perfect, keyword, about what others think, worry just in general, a little too much. Can I ask, when's your birthday?
Sure, it's September. Like,
okay.
do you want to know exactly? September 21st.
Okay, all right. I'm the second.
You the September 2nd?
September 2nd, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, interesting. Wow. So you're on the cusp of Libra.
Yes. I think there are like 2 days.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah. So I think that it's the 23rd that Libra starts.
Yeah. How interesting. Because I find that people, not to digress, but depending on your sign and the date you were born, some people can be different. Like I know Virgos mid-September, and they're a little bit different. They're a little more outgoing, like a little Virgo trait going on in there. But I think by and large, Virgos are, neat freaks.
They're masters in that.
Nice people. I'm not even kidding when I tell you this, but somebody who's world famous and intuitive, and I'll just leave it at that. He knows his stuff. He hired me because I'm a Virgo.
Really? Well, because we also have a great attention to details.
Yes.
And we have really, we can find and spot things that are not working. And it took me a while to realize that this is actually one of my strengths. First, I took it more as a one of my weakness, but now I took it as one of my strengths. So when I help, leaders, I can help them to see what they cannot see. When they're stuck and they're trying to move higher, whether it's the, corner office promotion or just being respected by colleagues and being, having credits for the hard work, right? I help them to see what they can't. And therefore, we'll move them from feeling stuck and unable to move in either direction to thriving and performing better and reaching the next goal or the next ranking or more money or whatever it is that they want. And I turned it around into my advantage. Yes.
I want to, at this point, and I don't know if we can talk about this in the time we have, but recognizing your strengths, like what you just said there, because I've tried, and I think I succeeded in many ways at doing that, where I a lot of people don't like change. So you just every day you're kind of doing the same thing.
Right.
When something comes up, like, oh my gosh, I got to pivot in a different direction here. I've limited time, whatever. I think I'm good at that. You know, finding a way around it. Boop, quick.
Yep.
It's all, I don't even know I'm doing it.
Problem solvers. Yeah.
Just quickly,
Absolutely.
I just
Yep.
step into something and into that direction and we go. Whether it's a
Yep.
tech issue, whatever it might be. So I would have to say maybe that's a strength, but you're looking at ourselves and what our strengths are. And I don't think we do that on a regular basis. We look at all the negatives. We look at how we didn't meet our expectations or maybe the expectations of others, but finding those strengths. And I'm sure that's something that you do with people.
Yep. Yes. That's one of the many strategies and things that we do. Just because when you operate from your strength, when you know your strength, you can use them in certain situations. You can dial it up, you can dial it down, depends on where you need it. But knowing that this is my quality, this is what I bring in, this is how I operate inside, and this is how I, show it on the outside, it's super important because it gives you that drive. It gives you that advantage saying, knowing with the clarity, like, hey, like I just told you, I know how to be a problem solver. I can solve problems and I can do it fast and quick. I'm a great communicator and I'm a very detail-oriented person. So I can help you to find the things that you can and find the ways and solutions that you might not know, right? And so knowing this helps me to, when I talk to my clients, it helps me to, get new clients because I know what I'm capable of, right? I can say, this is what I can bring to the table. This is how I can help. And this is me being fully open and supported and ready to take action.
And finding those things in people, your clients that you work with, that they might not even realize. They could tell you their story. Everybody's got a story,
right?
The professional one, the personal one. And you could take a look at them and say, well, did you ever realize that you do that? And that's actually really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you just need a second set of eyes,
Yes, yes. And I think that is the value in any coach, leadership coach, because we don't see that. We're kind of stuck like this. We're doing our day and that's it.
Yeah.
Somebody else can see all around you where we're not getting that.
Absolutely.
The expectation thing is big. It's huge, and it can be great, or it can be a hindrance in many of us.
Thank you for saying that. So I wanted to actually read a little bit from my book. I also dedicated a chapter to expectation and boundaries from the Map of Truth, the Journey to Joy. And I just want to close up with this. When you expect someone to say or act a certain way, the situation becomes all about you and the outcomes you want without considering the other person or respecting the situation for what it is. So what does that mean? When you keep thinking about your stuff and what you want to get out of the situation, what are you going to lack? You're not going to be able to, first, be empathetic, right? Because when you are constantly thinking about what is it that you want and you want to get out of, or you want to say, or you want to express, then you're only thinking about your side. You're not looking at the other person's side. You're not really truly listening what the other person is saying, and therefore you have a hard time relating. You might have a hard time actually getting the whole message. So you might be reminiscing in your head, oh, what is it I'm going to say? What is it I want him to do, or she or they or whatever, right? So you are not actually listening, but you are in your head preparing and thinking about what is it that you want to say. So the awareness, the empathy, and then also the patience and the understanding, right? Sometimes we just want to push things out, right? Because we have the expectations, we have the goal, we want to get there, and we just hurry and we push, and we're not patient with the other person. We're not really understanding where that person might be coming from. We're not even giving them the space to do that. So it really can lock us down into a very narrow and small window.
Yeah. And that's what you do. You take the time to evaluate where somebody is, where they want to go, what their expectations are. And of course, that's not to say that people have expectations of you, when they work with you, but that's all part of what we're talking about in terms of the communication And I know since you're detail oriented and you're a Virgo,
Mm.
that you line it all up there. So there is no question about what the
Right.
expectations are.
And you said the communication. That's the
Yeah.
important part, right? Expressing what it is that you are actually, aiming for or missing, or what is it not enough, right? Expressing it, like communicate it with somebody. And if you feel like you don't have anybody to communicate it with, write it down on a piece of paper. Write all the thoughts that are just reminiscing and doing Daytona 500 in your head. Write it down.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Dump it down onto the paper, and so that you can get more clarity and really just kind of tune in and find that understanding where you're coming from. What is it that you want? What is it that you're missing? What is that not enough there, right?
If people underestimate the power of writing it down, and if you're not doing it, it's a fail. I write everything down. I can see that.
Yeah, me too. And you scribble too. Oh my God, me too.
It's so important. You have a thought, write it down, put it in a journal, make sure. And you know what the best part is?
Yeah.
It's your timeline. Put the date at the top, even if it's 3 things that you list, because you can go back to it. And 3 years from now, you can look back and say, that's what I was doing, or that's what I wanted to do. And actually, I am doing it now. And it's even better than I thought it was. What's your website, Iveta?
My website is called dynamicsofconversation.com. I'm a leadership coach. I'm a published author. The book is called The Map of Truth, A Journey to Joy, and it's a workbook. So writing, expressing your thoughts on the paper, doodling, whatever it is. But it's the thing is, when you switch from the analytical mind to the creative mind, writing can help you to do that much more easily. So when you start writing, you can actually make that switch. And especially I don't know if you heard about free writing, but the free writing also is super useful when you are trying to find new perspective, new understanding. You have maybe something on your mind and you're trying to find a good angle to approach it. A free writing can really help with that.
Absolutely. You said a good word, great word, creativity, being creative. And that applies to everything. I know companies now that are looking for IT people, and you know what they're looking for? Creative IT people. That doesn't mean that you're going to, in the middle of working on a mainframe server, bust out a brush and paint. It means that you're going to creatively solve problems, and that's huge.
That is huge. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And how's that start? Writing it down.
Yeah, exactly. Brainstorm ideas, dump everything that is in here down on a paper. It's so useful.
You download stuff onto a memory stick or your hard drive, download it from here onto a piece of paper if you want to succeed.
Great analogy. Yep.
Iveta, always great talking with you. You met my expectations today.
Oh, wonderful.
we met our expectations, and even with what we're wearing, we're very patterned. We're Virgo.
I know we are like almost matching. Yeah.
I know. I think it's the Virgo thing. I look forward next time we get a chance to talk.
Me too, Steve. Have a great day.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.